So after us losing the 2047-48 Europa League final, which we still have to accept was a fantastic run, we are now going to recap the 2048 league campaign and the domestic cup, as well as having a look to see how the rest of the Norwegian league system has played out for the 2048 campaign, as well as our summer transfers and a quick look at a new tactical setup going into the 2049 season. First off, apologies for the lighting. I have 3 lights on in front of me, and there's still so much light coming through the windows behind me that it does darken out the face. I'm trying to come up with a solution for this, but also we are in the midst of moving to a new house, hopefully in the next few months. So again, that will result in this not happening anymore as well. So we just have to suck it up for now. And FM25, that's where quality will kick in, potentially. So we're going to start by looking at the cup campaign. So it was disappointing. So we start off with a 7-0 victory over Birkebeinen. Yeah, can't say much more. 7-0, insane. We then played Hamkam in the second round. Hamkam finished 5th place, so they were one of the better teams in the division. They knocked us out after extra time, 4-2. That was a bit disappointing, considering I did have that vision of maybe a domestic double again could potentially happen. So before we go into the league results and how that ended up affecting the season, let's have a look at the transfers that happened over the summer. There wasn't many. This was it. So as you can see, not a single player came in. Nobody. That was not for lack of trying. We did try to bring in a couple of people. On deadline day, we did have a Uruguayan who had really good pace acceleration, I thought. Potentially as a winger could come in. So in terms of the outs, Udovicic ended up leaving us 125k. He came in on a free transfer. It was a 1-3 for our B team, so I didn't have faith he was going to be able to step up. Fulstad went to Porto. This was a bit frustrating because he had played a couple of times for us in our first team, but I didn't think he was ever going to become a world-class player. So when Porto came in, I just didn't fight it. He was still on a youth contract, and that is annoying when they pick him up on a free. Hagelin has left us. Now, this was a purely financial decision. He had a year left on his contract. He was refusing to sign a new deal. So, even though he had 55 in 71, we've let him go off to Valencia because I thought 12 million is better than letting him go on a free transfer at the end of the year. And Murrestad went to Sydney on loan. This was again just due to the fact that he was kicking off. He wasn't featuring too much, and he wanted to move on, so we let him go out on to Sydney to get some football and hopefully help him get that move he wanted. Now, if we go to the transfer centre and we go to outs, there's no outs in him, but we do have a couple of ins coming in. We have Sauer, who we already know about as our goalkeeper from Egerson. Our striker from Egerson. Very, very good striker. We signed when he was 16. He's 22 now. And as you can see, he only has 231 days till he could claim Norwegian citizenship. So we're paying 1.2 million for him. And the hope is then that he does take that Norwegian citizenship and he becomes a striker for us for a good few years. And also we're bringing in an attacking midfielder from Sweden. Costing us 700 grand. It's a player who's going to go and play in our B team and just see if he develops how I think he potentially could develop. On to the league fixtures. And as we go into these league fixtures, I do want to mention that I am working on a way of changing these kind of updates into a half face-to-face, half narration. So I'll probably narrate quite a lot of it. So I'm putting clips from throughout the season, kind of making more of a story of the season. We might try that for the 2049 review and just see if I can piece it together properly. So, in terms of this season, we've been very up and down. So, let's start from here. So, after losing the cup final in Europe, we then picked up a victory against Asana 3-0 before back-to-back defeats to Odds and Stabæk, very comfortable defeats as well, before victory over Brann, and then another defeat against one of the better sides in Vålerenga. As soon as we hit them good sides, we really do slip up. You do see there, though, a couple of victories back-to-back before draw away to Frigg. They're the type of games where you're dropping points. That's 2 points lost against a relegated side. We did then hit 4 wins in a row against Berda Glimt, Chelsea, Eggersons and Molde before drawing away to Hamkam and losing at home to Sogndal. That was followed up with a victory over Skilde. Let me just move them along a little bit so you can see the names. Victory over Stabæk, Odds and Brann before a draw away to Osana, before victory over Valerenga, Viking and Ulkisse on the final day. We ended up finishing 2 points off top and the exact same goal difference. Everything was pretty much the same except for the fact they had one more win than us. So after us winning our first league title last year, we finished second this season. And even though we won 20, drew 6, lost 4, I was very, very disappointed in how solid, how well we played. I think we were very, very weak in certain areas of the pitch, and that has needed to be addressed and fixed because I just think we're not looking as good as we should. So Berda Glimt won the league, Stabæk came third, Valerenga 4th, Hamkam missing out on Europe because Eggersons, who came down in 10th, won the cup. Now in the second tier, coming up as champions is Rosenborg, going down for the second time in a couple of years. You can see they went down, came back up. They've gone down again 2 years later, now have come back up. Djurdals Blink also coming up. Grerud, who won the first leg, are probably going to come up as well. Going down is going to be Asker. Fleur are going to stay up. Strummen and Ranne going down. Onto the third tier. There's big teams down here now, by the way, in the third tier. So coming up is Vard Haugesund, and Sandefjord missed out on the playoffs, so it's going to be Fleur who stay in that division. Uppsal, Mjøndalen going down, former top flight club. You can see Strømsgodset are a mid-table third tier side now, along with Ålesund, which is just crazy. Strømsgodset should be a top level side. If you don't know, Strømsgodset is where Martin Ødegaard started his career. Rofos are going up as well. You can see our B team ended up finishing in 6th place. Won 8, drawing 12, losing 6. Now, we're bringing in that Swedish guy who's going to come in and play for them. A couple of the under-19s are going to step up. I've got a couple of players in the first team who I think we might end up dropping down to the B team for the following season as we look to add better quality to the first team. Traf, Vida, one of my local sides, and Aidsvoid going down from that level. Now, looking at our actual squad, then players who featured the most. Top appearance maker was Lyngstad, our goalkeeper. He's been with us now 85 league games he's played for us. You can see that's actually more than he ever played for Egerson. So it is nice that we're starting to get a lot of appearances for some of these players at this club. Second highest appearance maker was Anderson, which is fantastic. Seeing academy player getting the second most amount of assists throughout the season. 66 league games now. He's still only 18 years old. Doesn't turn 19 till the middle of next season. And he does suit our new tactic really well as well, which is nice. Sundra, who was suspended for the final game, but is again an academy player and again one of the key players within the squad. Now, he does only have a year left on his contract and he has been wanting to move on. So I am interested, if we can't secure him by the middle of January, we might end up just cashing in on him instead of losing players on a free. Guttelsrud, who just won the Norwegian Player of the Year award, you can see looking very, very nice. 52 appearances here, 13 on loan. He is closing in on the amount of appearances he ended up making for us at Eggersons, which is fantastic. Again, the fact that these players have been with us through this journey. Arneson, 51 appearances now for us, 91 he had at Eggerson with us. Just such a good, solid player to have in the middle. A player I want to mention, Maui. It doesn't look like he's going to stick around. After 2 years on loan at the club, unfortunately, he wants £84,000 a week to stay. We're currently playing 117 to the whole squad, so we can't quite afford him. So unfortunately, Maui is probably going to move on and leave us at the end of the season. So, goals. Goals. This is one of the biggest issues we've had this season, I think. So Zadro finished our top goal scorer. Obviously, new signing this season, his first year at the club. Only 5 goals in the league. It says 8 in total, which is wrong. It's 13. Don't quite know why it only says 8. Maui picked up 12. Guttlesrod with 12. And Yanni picked up 10. And then Borg, you can see one of our academy players, 19 years old, has been playing for our youth team where he's picked up 46 goals in 46 games. Did pick up 7 goals. It's just his mental ability which lets me down. He's got perfectionist personality but work rate of 8 and teamwork of 7. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense. In terms of assists then, Guttlesrod with 16. Maui with 12 here, 12 goals, 12 assists. 10 and 10 for Gianni. And Marla picking up 8 assists, Anderson with 7. Orion Marla picking up that many assists is fantastic as one of our rotation option left and right back. He has made 44 appearances since coming in, which is more than he made for me at Egerson's, which again is just fantastic that this player who I brought in due to our love of him at Egerson has now featured more for the new club than he did at the old club. Our team's looking decent, and we have switched over to this tactic. I used it in the final game of the season in the Champions League, and it looked really, really good. So Ling's standing goal with Hansen, Jaeger, and Shield. Well, it's not Shield, it's actually Sundra, but obviously Sundra was missing. But Jaeger being a 6'3" defensive midfielder, 19 years old, very, very talented. He's actually dropped and agreed to become a squad player from an important player because of the old tactic. He just wasn't getting in ahead of Hansen and Neymar. But with this new tactic, having 2 central midfielders means I want him as a stopper, so he comes into this gap here and kind of defends this area. And then Neymar and Anderson as 2 centre mids are very, very solid defensively. Zadro, Guttlesrod, and then Yanni is up top at the minute. I do think Sauer, who we're bringing in from Egerson's, could play as our first choice striker. I really do, as he develops. Now, Oskari Yanni is a player who's interesting. I'm considering, remember he's right-footed, I'm considering now, for the whole of pre-season, retraining him as a wing-back on support. I just think physically he's got the ability. He's very good going forward. Does need to improve defensively with his marking and tackling, but I think he could be a really, really good player. I would probably like him to work over pre-season, probably on his stamina, get that up above 11, and endurance to get the work rate up. I think it would be useful. But retraining the guy who's played striker for the second half of the season as a right wing back, it's a bit of an FM move, but I think in terms of the fact that he has such a good crossing ability, etc., could be a very, very good right wing back. Then Marla drops back as a backup to these two, and then Sauer comes up top. But I don't want to make too many changes going in next season. Yes, we didn't win the league, but all in all, I think we are looking fairly solid. Now, our B team, we've got some good talent in there, but not enough. So I do want to bring in a couple of players to just help our B team out a bit. Björn Gulson hasn't featured that much, considering I signed him with the potential of him maybe dropping up into our first team. 1.5 million for Megasons. He's not featured that much. Andreas Lloyd, who we had in our first team, dropped him down to the B team. Only played 7 starts as well. Some players who you do think could drop into the B team and be really good, really successful, really useful for the team, just don't really do it. Top goal scorer in this is Carlos Enrique, who, again, 6 goals in 26. We do need to improve our B team. Now, our under-19s has a few players. All of these players are going to be going into our B team for next season. That's quite a few players are going to be going up there. Now, our under-19s did come in 4th place and are looking a very solid under-19 side. 1-13, drew 5, losing 8. Simon Borg with 26 goals, now going up in our B team for this season. As a rotation between B team and first team, he's only going to really feature for our first team this season when we need him. If he can score goals in the B team as well, then potentially we need to ignore the attributes of his work and teamwork and take into account the rest of his attributes, and they make him into an actually very good player. Now, under-19s did win the Norwegian Cup. So, under-19 Cup winners, 4th place in the league, a fairly successful season. with Rosyth getting on the goal sheet, who is a okay left wing back developing through. Grudal, who is a winger, 16 years old, and also Ross Rudd, who is a striker who, again, work rate 5, positioning 1, concentration 2. We just getting some fairly weak players, so you can see in the UEFA Nations League as well, we are looking solid. 4th place in the Nations League, won 4, drew 1, lost 1. We are developing a very, very nice side here. So in terms of how we're looking as well with some things, you can see they are devastated by our development of players in our youth system. Now, considering a player who I gave a debut to was our 2nd highest appearance maker, Sundra in the backline is from the academy, Berg is playing some games. I think that is a bit harsh. I do think that's a bit harsh. And we have had moments in the season where I've dropped only C rating for the ball confidence. Now, I'm not as connected to this club as Egerton. And what that means is we do have that possibility that if we can maybe win the league next year with Lillestrøm, we might actually move on and do 5 or 6 seasons at a club, move on, 5 or 6 seasons at a club, move on, and maybe we can get another club or 2 in before the end of FM24 and just see if we can push on a couple of clubs. Now, the only reason I would go against that is if we have a really good run in Europe and I get that feeling that maybe the year after we could do it with Lillestrøm. We've won the Champions League with Egerton. If we could do it with another Norwegian club, then obviously I would want to stick around and do that. And this club does have a lot of potential, and that's the only reason that's maybe saying give them another 3 or 4 years, then maybe go and help somebody else. But if I knew when I move, this club would keep all of its players, this club would push on, it would convince me more. The downfall, the disaster that is Egerton, and the way that they have ruined the club that we built is the one reason that I'm considering not doing that. Let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. I've been Paul, also known as the Northman, and I'll see you next time.